30. Most shocking secrets hidden by Black Hollywood legends. What if I told you that behind the fame, the awards, and the glamorous red carpets, some of Black Hollywood's brightest legends were hiding secrets the world was never supposed to know? From forbidden love affairs and shocking addictions to blacklists, betrayals, and even unsolved deaths. These untold stories reveal the heavy price of stardom. Some will inspire you, others will break your heart, and a few may completely change how you see your favorite icons. Are you ready to uncover the truth? Hit that like button, subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence, and let's dive in. Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. remains one of the most complex and magnetic figures in Black Hollywood history. Born in 1925, he grew up performing alongside his father and the Will Maston Trio, learning to sing, dance, and act before most children even started school. By the 1950s and 1960s, Davis had become a household name, performing on Broadway, headlining in Las Vegas, and co-starring with the Rat Pack. He was a man of firsts, the first black entertainer to command integrated audiences in casinos, the first to gain acceptance in elite Hollywood circles, and the first to openly challenge barriers that had long kept African Americans from the spotlight. Yet Davis's personal life was just as controversial as his career was groundbreaking. In 1960, he married Swedish actress May Britt at a time when interracial marriages were still illegal in many states. The backlash was swift and brutal, with industry insiders warning him that his career could collapse. Still, he chose love over conformity. His conversion to Judaism after surviving a horrific car crash in 1954 also shocked many, especially in a country where racial and religious prejudices were deeply ingrained. He often explained that the faith gave him strength and a sense of belonging, but critics used it to label him as eccentric or opportunistic. Perhaps the most sensational revelation about Davis's life came in the 1970s when it emerged that he briefly joined the Church of Satan. Attending parties with Anton LaVey, he was even given the nickname the Candyman, a nod to his famous hit. Davis later admitted that it was more about rebellion and amusement than belief, but the stigma never faded. If this had been widely known during his peak, would audiences have embraced him or shunned him completely? Through all of this, Sammy Davis Jr. never stopped performing. He recorded dozens of albums, appeared in films and television shows, and earned the nickname Mr. Entertainment. His story is a reminder that fame comes with a heavy price, especially for pioneers who dared to be different. Diahann Carroll. Diahann Carroll was more than a star. She was a trailblazer whose elegance and talent reshaped Hollywood's image of black women. Born in 1935 in the Bronx, she studied singing and modeling before stepping into television and film, where her beauty and poise made her impossible to ignore. In 1968, she became the first black woman to star in her own network television series, Julia, portraying a widowed nurse raising her son. At a time when black actresses were often relegated to servants or background characters, Carroll's role was revolutionary, earning her a Golden Globe and an Emmy nomination. She later won a Tony Award for No Strings, cementing her reputation as a performer of immense versatility. But behind the spotlight, Carroll's personal life was filled with emotional turbulence. In her memoir, The Legs Are the Last to Go, she revealed a long and painful affair with actor Sidney Poitier during the 1960s. Their relationship lasted nearly 8 years, hidden from the public eye. Poitier, married at the time, promised to leave his wife and even persuaded Carroll to end her own marriage for him. But ultimately, he did not follow through, leaving her devastated. For Carroll, it was a story of sacrifice and disillusionment, made even heavier by the pressures of being black icons in a white-dominated industry. They could not openly embrace their love without risking scandal or professional fallout. Do you think Hollywood would have destroyed their careers if their secret romance had been exposed during that era? Beyond her personal struggles, Carroll faced the relentless expectations placed on black women in entertainment, always needing to appear flawless, gracious, and strong even when privately dealing with heartbreak. Her career spanned 5 decades from Broadway to Dynasty, where she played the glamorous Dominique Devereaux, a role that again challenged stereotypes. Through it all, she remained a symbol of resilience, sophistication, and quiet rebellion. Diahan Carroll's story is not just one of success, but also of the hidden costs of maintaining grace under the unyielding glare of fame. Dorothy Dandridge. Dorothy Dandridge is remembered as both a groundbreaking actress and a tragic symbol of how Hollywood often failed its brightest black stars. Born in 1922 in Cleveland, Ohio, she began performing in the Dandridge Sisters Act with her sister Vivian before breaking into films. By the 1950s, Dorothy's stunning looks and undeniable talent made her a household name. In 1954, her performance in Carmen Jones earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress, making her the first black woman ever to receive such recognition in that category. This historic achievement should have catapulted her to lasting stardom. Yet Hollywood's systemic racism and narrow casting choices limited her career. Studio executives often claimed she was too glamorous for the stereotypical maid or servant roles usually assigned to black women, but at the same time refused to cast her in leading roles opposite white actors. Trapped in this paradox, Dorothy's career stalled. Despite her groundbreaking success, she struggled to find meaningful work, often touring nightclubs to make ends meet. Her personal life was just as turbulent. She endured a toxic relationship with director Otto Preminger and suffered devastating financial losses due to poor management. Most heartbreakingly, her only daughter, Harolyn, was born with brain damage and required full-time care in an institution. Dorothy's mounting stress, professional disappointments, and loneliness drove her into deep despair. In 1965, at just 42 years old, she was found dead in her Los Angeles apartment. The official cause was an overdose, though some have long suspected foul play. Can you imagine how different Hollywood history might have been if Dorothy had been given the roles her talent truly deserved? Even in death, her story remained haunting. She was so financially ruined that she couldn't even afford a funeral, and friends had to contribute. Still, her legacy lived on, paving the way for actresses like Halle Berry, who honored her in the film Introducing Dorothy Dandridge. Today, she is remembered not just as a beauty icon, but as a woman whose courage and artistry carved a path for future generations. Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor is often hailed as the greatest stand-up comedian of all time. A man whose raw honesty, fearless storytelling, and biting humor transformed comedy into an art form. Born in 1940 in Peoria, Illinois, he grew up in a brothel run by his grandmother, exposed early to violence, poverty, and dysfunction. These experiences, though painful, shaped his worldview and became the foundation of his comedy. By the 1970s and 1980s, Pryor had become a cultural giant, selling out arenas, starring in hit films like Silver Streak and Stir Crazy, and releasing comedy albums that earned him 5 Grammy Awards. His material blending race, class, drugs, and politics was revolutionary, giving voice to truths few dared to speak. But behind the laughter, Pryor's life was filled with chaos and secrets. He struggled with addiction for decades, surviving near-fatal overdoses and a notorious 1980 incident where he set himself on fire while freebasing cocaine. Yet one of the most shocking revelations about his life didn't become widely known until years later. Pryor was bisexual. In 2018, music legend Quincy Jones revealed in an interview that Pryor had an intimate relationship with Marlon Brando. At first dismissed as gossip, the claim was later confirmed by Pryor's widow Jennifer Lee Pryor, who said he was open about his relationships with both men and women during the more permissive 1970s. Pryor himself even joked in his autobiography prior convictions about experimenting with men, though most assumed he was only being comedic. Would the public of that era have accepted such honesty from a black male star, or would it have destroyed his career entirely? Despite his turbulent personal life, Pryor's influence remains unmatched. He received the first-ever Mark Twain Prize for American Humor in 1998, cementing his role as a pioneer who changed the way America thinks about comedy. Countless comedians, from Eddie Murphy to Chris Rock, credit him as their greatest inspiration. Pryor's genius lay in his ability to turn pain into laughter, chaos into wisdom, and vulnerability into art. His story proves that behind the spotlight, the most powerful legacies often come from those who dared to reveal their deepest truths. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston was more than a singer. She was the voice of a generation. Born in 1963 in Newark, New Jersey, she grew up surrounded by music royalty. Her mother, Cissy Houston, was a gospel legend, and her cousin was none other than Dionne Warwick. With her soaring vocal range and emotional delivery, Whitney quickly rose to global stardom. Her 1985 debut album sold over 25 million copies worldwide, and she went on to win 6 Grammy Awards and sell more than 200 million records, making her one of the most successful female artists in history. Songs like I Will Always Love You and Greatest Love of All became timeless anthems, cementing her status as an international icon. Yet behind the glamour and accolades, Whitney lived a life of hidden struggle and unspoken truths. One of the most poignant revelations came from Robin Crawford Whitney's closest friend and assistant, who disclosed in her memoir, A Song for You, that they were once romantically involved. Their love blossomed when Whitney was in her early 20s, but intense industry pressure forced her to end the relationship, telling Robin, "This can't be." The music world demanded a polished, church-going superstar, not a queer black woman in love. From that moment, Whitney carried the weight of silence, hiding a vital part of herself. How different might her story have been if she had felt free to love openly without fear of career destruction. Instead, Whitney's private pain grew. She became entangled in a tumultuous marriage with Bobby Brown, a relationship marked by infidelity addiction and constant media scrutiny. Her drug use, which she once admitted began in her early career, contributed to a heartbreaking decline. By the 2000s, her once heavenly voice had been diminished, and her public appearances often made headlines for the wrong reasons. Tragically, Whitney died in 2012 at just 48 years old, found in a Beverly Hilton hotel bathtub with heart disease and cocaine use listed as contributing factors. Her story remains a devastating reminder of how fame can amplify both triumph and tragedy. Yet her voice still echoes a legacy of unmatched beauty and vulnerability that continues to inspire generations. Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown's name is often linked with turbulence, controversy, and heartbreak, yet he remains one of the most influential figures in R&B. Born in 1969 in Boston, Massachusetts, Bobby rose to fame as a member of New Edition, the boy band that shaped the sound of the 1980s. By the late 80s, his solo career exploded with the release of Don't Be Cruel, an album that sold over 12 million copies worldwide and produced 5 top 10 hits, including My Prerogative. His fusion of R&B, hip-hop, and pop influenced an entire generation of artists and gave him the title Bad Boy of R&B. But behind the success, Bobby's life spiraled into chaos. His marriage to Whitney Houston in 1992 was one of the most talked-about unions in entertainment. Their relationship was marked by public fights, infidelity, and heavy drug use. Both were plagued by addiction, and their struggles played out under relentless media scrutiny. Whitney once said their marriage was both passionate and toxic, and for Bobby, it became impossible to separate love from self-destruction. In 2016, while promoting his memoir, Every Little Step, Bobby shocked fans with an unusual confession. He claimed to have had a sexual encounter with a ghost in a haunted house. He described the spirit as a mysterious woman who came to him one night insisting it was not a dream or drug-induced hallucination. While some dismissed it as bizarre storytelling, Bobby stood by his claim, saying the experience was real. Do you think his ghost story was a cry for attention? Or could it reflect deeper trauma masked by the supernatural tragedy continued to shadow Bobby? He lost Whitney in 2012, his daughter Bobby Christina in 2015 under eerily similar circumstances, and his son Bobby Jr. in 2020. Despite these crushing blows, Bobby has continued to perform and share his story, often speaking about recovery, faith, and resilience. His journey is a testament to survival. A man who rose from poverty to stardom, fell into despair, and is still fighting to reclaim his peace. Eartha Kitt. Eartha Kitt was the very definition of fearless artistry. Born in 1927 on a South Carolina cotton plantation to a black Cherokee mother and a white father she never knew, Kitt endured poverty and abuse from an early age. Yet she transformed pain into power, rising to fame in the 1950s with her sultry voice, magnetic stage presence, and undeniable charm. Songs like Satsibon and Santa Baby made her an international sensation, while her elegance and confidence helped redefine what a black woman could represent in entertainment. By the 1960s, she was a global star, performing in multiple languages and starring in films and Broadway productions. But perhaps the most shocking moment of her career came in 1968, when she was invited to the White House for a luncheon hosted by First Lady Lady Bird Johnson. During a discussion about juvenile crime, Kitt delivered an unflinching critique of the Vietnam War, declaring that sending young men to die overseas was destroying American families. Her words left the room in stunned silence. Lady Bird Johnson reportedly broke into tears, and the backlash was immediate. The CIA compiled a file on her. Hollywood turned its back, and she was unofficially blacklisted in the U.S. For nearly a decade, Kitt had to rebuild her career in Europe, where audiences embraced her candor and courage. Would most stars today have risked their careers to speak truth to power the way Kitt did? Despite the professional exile, Eartha Kitt never bowed to fear. She returned to American television in the late 1970s and 1980s, earning new acclaim, including Emmy nominations for her voice work in Disney's The Emperor's New Groove. She also became a passionate advocate for social justice and youth programs, channeling her platform into activism. Eartha Kitt passed away in 2008 at age 81, leaving behind a legacy that fused glamour with rebellion. Her life proved that true excellence is not just about fame, but about standing firm in your truth, even when the world tries to silence you. Michael Jackson. The king of pop remains one of the most influential entertainers in history. Born in 1958 in Gary, Indiana, he began performing with the Jackson 5 before launching a solo career that redefined global music. His 1982 album Thriller is still the best-selling album of all time, with over 70 million copies sold worldwide. Jackson's groundbreaking music videos like Billie Jean and Beat It transformed MTV and brought a new visual artistry to pop music. With 13 Grammy Awards, countless Billboard hits, and Guinness World Records, his cultural impact is unmatched. But Michael's legacy has always been shadowed by mystery and controversy. One of the strangest stories involves claims of a secret son, Brandon Howard, a singer who bears a striking resemblance to Jackson. In 2014, made headlines by producing DNA test results showing a 99.9% match with Michael's alleged DNA, supposedly obtained from an old dental device. However, experts questioned the test's validity, noting it came from a marketing company rather than a certified lab. Jackson's estate dismissed the claim as a publicity stunt, yet the resemblance and timing kept rumors alive. Some fans still insist Howard could be Michael's biological child, while others view it as another conspiracy theory fueled by the star's guarded personal life. If you saw the striking similarities, would you believe it's coincidence or hidden truth? Michael's private life was always under a microscope. His marriages to Lisa Marie Presley and Debbie Rowe, the birth of his 3 children, and his evolving appearance kept tabloids busy for decades. On stage, he was untouchable, but off-stage, he lived in isolation, often described as lonely and misunderstood. Even in death, he passed away in 2009 at just 50 years old from acute propofol intoxication. Controversy did not leave him. His estate continues to generate millions annually, and debates over his personal choices still ignite passionate discussion. Michael Jackson's story is one of brilliance and enigma, a man who gave the world timeless music while keeping his deepest truths locked away. His secrets, real or rumored, remain part of the fascination that ensures his legend will never fade. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye, often called the Prince of Soul, was a genius whose music continues to inspire generations. Born in 1939 in Washington, D.C., He began his career with Motown in the early 1960s, delivering silky romantic hits like How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You and Ain't That Peculiar. But Marvin wasn't content to stay within the boundaries of love songs. By the 1970s, he had become a voice for social change. His 1971 masterpiece, What's Going On, sold millions of copies worldwide and is still hailed as one of the greatest albums of all time, addressing poverty, war, and racial injustice with haunting beauty. Yet behind the success was a man deeply scarred by family conflict. His father, Reverend Marvin Gaye Sr., was a strict Pentecostal preacher whose volatile behavior created a household filled with fear. One of the most shocking truths Marvin revealed was that his father secretly dressed in women's clothing. For Marvin, it wasn't the act itself that disturbed him, but the hypocrisy of a man who demanded rigid masculinity while hiding his own private life. This tension fueled years of estrangement, shame, and unhealed wounds between father and son. Can you imagine how confusing it must have been for Marvin to reconcile the preacher who ruled with an iron fist and the private man who lived with secrets of his own? Tragically, this broken relationship ended in violence. On April 1st, 1984, just one day before his 45th birthday, Marvin was shot and killed by his father after a heated argument in their Los Angeles home. The news stunned the music world. An artist who had given the world so much love and truth was taken by the very person he feared most. Marvin Gaye's story is both inspiring and heartbreaking. His music changed the conversation about what soul could be, blending activism with passion. But his personal life reminds us that even legends carry deep scars. Today, his songs remain timeless, while his tragic end serves as a chilling reminder of how unresolved pain within families can erupt into devastation. Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg is one of the few performers in history to achieve EGOT status, winning an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Award. Yet her path to success was anything but smooth. Born Corinne Elaine Johnson in 1955 in New York City, she grew up in poverty and faced challenges with dyslexia, which went undiagnosed during her childhood. Before fame, she worked a variety of odd jobs from bricklayer to funeral cosmetologist, while honing her craft as a performer in small clubs and theaters. Her breakthrough came in 1985 with The Color Purple, where her role as C. Lee earned her an Academy Award nomination and established her as one of Hollywood's most dynamic actresses. Behind the achievements, Whoopi's personal struggles were stark. In interviews, she has candidly admitted to battling drug addiction in her youth. She revealed that she once used heroin and even performed stand-up comedy while under the influence of LSD. The thought of her walking onto a stage, uncertain of what was real, is both startling and a testament to how close she came to losing everything before her career truly began. Survival rather than glamour defined her early years. Do you think Hollywood audiences in the 1980s would have embraced her so fully had they known about her addictions at the time? As her career blossomed, Whoopi used humor and sharp wit to stand apart. She hosted the Academy Awards 4 times, became a beloved part of the Sister Act franchise, and later joined The View, where her outspoken voice on politics and culture continues to spark debate. Beyond entertainment, she has been an advocate for LGBTQ+ rights, women's health, and racial equality, showing that her influence extends far beyond film and television. Whoopi Goldberg's journey is one of resilience, proof that even the darkest beginnings can be transformed into brilliance. Her honesty about her past has made her more relatable, while her body of work secures her legacy as one of the most important voices in American culture. Prince Rogers Nelson. Known worldwide simply as Prince, was a one-man revolution in music. Born in 1958 in Minneapolis, he grew into an artist who could do it all: sing, write, produce, and play over 20 instruments. His unique fusion of funk, rock, soul, and pop made him one of the most innovative performers of all time. With more than 150 million records sold globally, 7 Grammy Awards, and an Academy Award for Purple Rain, 1984. Prince wasn't just an entertainer, he was a cultural phenomenon who challenged rules of gender, sexuality, and artistic freedom. But Prince's most shocking secret wasn't revealed until after his death in 2016, the existence of his legendary vault. Beneath his Paisley Park estate in Minnesota, authorities discovered a literal bank vault filled with thousands of unreleased songs and recordings spanning decades of creativity. Industry insiders estimate there is enough material to release a new album every year for the next 100 years. Inside were unheard collaborations, experimental tracks, and entire projects Prince never allowed to see the light of day. He famously protested against record label control, even writing the word slave on his face in the 1990s, symbolizing his fight for artistic ownership. Instead of letting corporations profit from his genius, he locked his creations away. If you had the chance, would you rather keep those songs hidden to honor his wishes, or release them so the world could hear his full genius? The vault sparked legal battles over ownership and control, with his family, estate managers, and record companies vying for rights. A few songs have been released since, but the majority remain unheard, keeping fans both frustrated and fascinated. Beyond the vault, Prince's private life was just as enigmatic. Brief marriages, a secretive lifestyle, and his untimely death from an accidental fentanyl overdose at age 57 shocked the world. Prince's legacy is a paradox, an artist who gave everything on stage but guarded his truest self behind closed doors. His brilliance was limitless, his secrets vast, and his influence eternal. Even in silence, the music he left behind continues to stir curiosity, debate, and admiration. Cicely Tyson. Cicely Tyson was grace, strength, and excellence personified. Born in 1924 in Harlem to Caribbean immigrant parents, she started as a fashion model before becoming one of the most respected actresses of her generation. Tyson built her career on dignity, refusing roles that demeaned Black women, and instead choosing characters that reflected resilience, intelligence, and truth. Her portrayal of Rebecca in Sounder, 1972, earned her an Academy Award nomination, and she went on to win 3 Emmys, a Tony Award, and an honorary Oscar. By the time she passed away in 2021 at age 96, Tyson had become a symbol of integrity in Hollywood, inspiring countless performers. Yet her personal life carried secrets that only came to light years later. In 1981, Cicely Tyson quietly married jazz legend Miles Davis, a union that remained largely hidden from the public eye. At first, their marriage was seen as the meeting of two giants, her elegance paired with his brilliance. But Davis battled addiction and a reputation for volatility, and their relationship was plagued with turbulence, emotional strain, and whispered stories of abuse. Tyson endured much of this, silently choosing privacy over public scandal. Only in her memoir, Just As I Am, published shortly before her death, did she open up about the struggles, admitting both the deep love she felt and the heavy cost of standing by him. Would the public have judged her differently had they known what she endured while trying to preserve both her marriage and her image? Beyond her marriage, Tyson's life was marked by relentless discipline and quiet rebellion. She turned down dozens of roles that perpetuated stereotypes, often sacrificing paychecks to protect her principles. She once said, "I realized that I could not afford the luxury of being an actress. I had to make a difference." That difference reshaped how Hollywood portrayed Black women on screen. Cicely Tyson's story is not only one of artistic triumph, but also of hidden pain and private sacrifice. She left behind a legacy built on courage, truth, and the belief that every performance could be a form of activism. Beyonce Knowles Carter, born in 1981 in Houston, Texas, has become one of the most powerful and influential artists in the world. Rising to fame in the late 1990s as the lead singer of Destiny's Child, she went on to dominate the music industry as a solo performer. With 32 Grammy Awards, she holds the record for the most Grammy wins of all time. Her albums Dangerously in Love, Lemonade, and Renaissance have not only sold millions, but also set cultural conversations on race, feminism, and empowerment. Known as Queen Bey, she built an empire worth over $500 million with music film business ventures and her marriage to rapper Jay-Z, placing her firmly in pop culture royalty. Yet despite her unparalleled success, Beyoncé has not escaped bizarre conspiracy theories. One of the most shocking centered around the birth of her daughter, Blue Ivy Carter, in 2012. A now viral television interview showed Beyoncé sitting down and her baby bump appeared to fold strangely. The clip sparked wild speculation that she was wearing a fake pregnancy belly while secretly using a surrogate. Internet forums, blogs, and Reddit threads exploded with theories analyzing photos and videos frame by frame. Beyoncé, however, strongly denied the rumors, calling them stupid, ridiculous, and false. Nevertheless, whispers persisted, fueled by her famously private nature. Fans debated, was the bump incident just a wardrobe mishap or proof of a deeper secret? If you saw that footage, would you dismiss it immediately or question it like so many others did? Beyond the rumors, Beyoncé has continued to project an image of control and perfection. She carefully curates her public appearances, rarely gives interviews, and often lets her art speak for itself. Some argue that this mystery adds to her aura, while others feel it invites more speculation. What cannot be denied is her impact from headlining the Super Bowl to releasing the surprise visual album Lemonade. She consistently sets new industry standards. Beyoncé's story proves that even at the very top, legends are not free from scrutiny. Her legacy is one of brilliance and influence, yet also of relentless rumor and myth, a testament to how the world both reveres and questions its most iconic figures. Jay-Z. Jay-Z, born Sean Corey Carter in 1969 in Brooklyn's Marcy Projects, rose from poverty to become a billionaire mogul and one of the most influential figures in hip-hop. With 24 Grammy Awards and more than 125 million records sold, he built an empire that stretches beyond music rock nation. Title partnerships with luxury brands, real estate, and sports management. His marriage to Beyoncé made them the most powerful couple in entertainment, symbolizing not only success, but also cultural dominance. Yet alongside his triumphs, Jay-Z has carried one of the most persistent and controversial rumors in Black Hollywood, the claim that he secretly fathered a son. A man named Rymir Satterthwaite has long insisted that Jay-Z is his biological father from an alleged relationship with his mother in the early 1990s. In 2015, Satterthwaite filed a lawsuit in New Jersey family court seeking a paternity test. The case was dismissed due to procedural issues, not because the claims were proven false. To this day, Jay-Z has never publicly commented on the accusations. Satterthwaite continues to release interviews and documents saying, "I don't want money. I just want the truth." Do you think Jay-Z's silence is a sign of denial, or could it be a strategy to avoid legitimizing the story? The allegation has fueled endless debate among fans and critics alike. Some believe it's a cash grab pointing to Jay-Z's enormous fortune. Others argue that the refusal to take a DNA test leaves too many questions unanswered. Despite this shadow, his career has remained untouchable with major business deals and hit albums like The Blueprint and 444 further solidifying his legacy. Jay-Z himself has admitted to mistakes in his personal life, including infidelity in his marriage, but has always carefully managed his public image. His story reflects both the power and the vulnerability of superstardom. Even at the pinnacle of success, whispers from the past can haunt a legacy. Jay-Z remains an icon of ambition and resilience, but the ongoing paternity controversy ensures his narrative is never as polished as the empire he built. Nina Simone. Nina Simone. Born Eunice Kathleen Wayman in 1933 in North Carolina, was more than just a singer. She was a classically trained pianist, composer, and civil rights activist whose music blended jazz, blues, gospel, and protest into a voice of resistance. With timeless tracks like Feeling Good to Be Young, Gifted, and Black and I Put a Spell on You, she gave expression to both Black pride and universal longing. Her 1970 performance of Mississippi Goddam became an anthem of civil rights, and her ability to merge art with activism earned her a reputation as the high priestess of soul. Yet behind her commanding stage presence lay a hidden battle. For most of her life, Nina suffered from bipolar disorder, though it went undiagnosed for decades. She swung between euphoric creativity and devastating depression, a duality that baffled her peers. At times, she displayed explosive anger, pulling a gun on a record executive who tried to cheat her and even threatening a neighbor's child. Without the language and support systems available today, she was often labeled difficult, dangerous, or unstable, while her pain was misunderstood and dismissed. Can you imagine how differently her career might have unfolded if she had received proper treatment and compassion at the height of her struggles? The pressures of fame combined with racism, sexism, and industry exploitation worsened her condition. By the 1970s, she left the United States seeking refuge in Africa and Europe, where she found audiences more accepting of her artistry. Still, her financial and emotional struggles persisted, even as she continued to perform. It was only later in her life, through interviews, letters, and documentaries like What Happened, Miss Simone, that the depth of her illness became widely understood. Nina Simone passed away in 2003 at age 70, but her legacy remains monumental. She was not only a musician, but also a truth-teller, whose art forced the world to confront injustice. Her story is a reminder that genius often comes with hidden battles and that empathy, not judgment, is what true icons deserve. Martin Lawrence. Martin Lawrence, born in 1965 in Frankfurt, Germany, and raised in Maryland, became one of the defining comedians of the 1990s. His sitcom Martin, 1992 to 1997, was a cultural phenomenon showcasing his gift for physical comedy and unforgettable characters. Alongside television success, he also dominated the big screen with blockbuster hits like Bad Boys 1995 alongside Will Smith, Blue Streak 1999, and Big Mama's House 2000. At his peak, Lawrence was one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, helping pave the way for other black comedians to headline films that grossed hundreds of millions worldwide. Yet his fame was shadowed by personal struggles that shocked fans. In August 1996, Martin suffered a very public breakdown. He was seen wandering into traffic in Los Angeles, waving a handgun and shouting, "They're trying to kill me!" Police detained him and he was hospitalized for exhaustion and stress. The tabloids mocked him, late-night shows joked at his expense, but the truth was more serious. It was a mental health crisis, brought on by overwhelming pressure, overwork, and trauma. His behavior became increasingly erratic in the following years, culminating in another incident in 1999, when he collapsed into a 3-day coma from heat exhaustion after jogging in heavy clothing. Can you imagine how terrifying it must have been for fans to watch their comedy hero fighting for his life off stage? Despite these struggles, Lawrence made a comeback, reuniting with Will Smith for Bad Boys 2, 2003, and Bad Boys for Life 2020, both box office smashes. Still, he has spoken candidly about how fame and mental health challenges nearly destroyed him. Unlike many who hide their struggles, Martin has acknowledged his mistakes and encouraged conversations around the pressures of celebrity life. Martin Lawrence's story is not just about comedy or movies, it's about resilience. He went from being one of the brightest stars of the 1990s to confronting breakdowns that could have ended his career, only to rise again. His journey reminds us that even those who bring the most laughter can carry the heaviest burdens. Red Fox. Red Fox. Born John Elroy Sanford in 1922 in St. Louis, Missouri, was a pioneer of comedy who broke barriers with his raw, unapologetic style. Known as the King of the Party Records, he sold over 20 million comedy albums filled with routines that blended sharp wit, risque humor, and streetwise authenticity. His big break came in the 1970s with the sitcom Sanford and Son, where he played the cantankerous Fred Sanford. The show was a massive success, regularly pulling in over 25 million viewers weekly, and made Fox one of the first black comedians to achieve mainstream television stardom. His influence paved the way for future comedians like Eddie Murphy and Chris Rock, who openly credit him as an inspiration. But despite his fame, Fox's life offstage told a different story. Decades of lavish spending, failed business ventures, and poor financial management left him in deep debt. By the late 1980s, he owed millions to the IRS, which once raided his Las Vegas home, seizing furniture, jewelry, and even his beloved suits. Fox never fully recovered from the financial blow. Tragically, on October 11, 1991, while rehearsing for the sitcom The Royal Family, he suffered a massive heart attack. At first, the crew thought he was joking, imitating the famous heart attack gag from Sanford and Son. But this time, it was real. He collapsed on set and died at the age of 68. Isn't it heartbreaking that a man who made millions laugh ended up with almost nothing at the end of his life? Even his funeral had to be covered by friends, including Eddie Murphy, who stepped in to handle the expenses. For someone who once stood as a comedic giant, it was a devastating end. Yet Fox's legacy lives on. His bold, boundary-pushing comedy changed the landscape of American humor, making it more honest, raw, and unfiltered. His story is both a cautionary tale about financial mismanagement and a tribute to the lasting impact of a comedian who gave his all to make audiences laugh. Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman was more than an actor. He became a symbol of dignity, resilience, and hope for millions around the world. Born in 1976 in Anderson, South Carolina, Boseman initially pursued writing and directing before turning to acting. After years of smaller roles, he broke through with powerful portrayals of black icons Jackie Robinson in 42, 2013, James Brown in Get On Up 2014, and Thurgood Marshall in Marshall 2017. Each role carried historical weight, showcasing his ability to bring depth and humanity to legendary figures. But it was in 2018 as King T'Challa in Black Panther that Boseman became a global phenomenon. The film grossed over $1.3 billion worldwide, making it one of the most successful Marvel movies ever. And for many, it was the first superhero film to celebrate African identity and culture on such a scale. Boseman became an international icon of black excellence, representing pride, empowerment, and the idea that heroes could and should look like everyone. Behind the scenes, however, Boseman was waging a private battle. In 2016, he was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, which later advanced to stage 4. For 4 years, while enduring surgeries and chemotherapy, he continued to work tirelessly. He filmed demanding roles, performed stunt work, and even visited children fighting cancer, never once revealing his own illness publicly. His colleagues were stunned when he died on August 28, 2020, at the age of 43. Can you imagine the level of strength it took to carry such a secret while giving so much of himself to the world? The announcement of his death shocked fans, co-stars, and the industry. Tributes poured in globally, recognizing him not just as an actor, but as a man of profound purpose. His final performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom 2020 earned him a posthumous Golden Globe and an Academy Award nomination, sealing his legacy as one of the most respected actors of his generation. Chadwick Boseman's story is both inspiring and heartbreaking. He proved that true greatness is not measured only in accolades, but in courage, integrity, and the impact left on others. His legacy continues to remind us that even in silence, strength can change the world. James Brown. James Brown, born in 1933 in South Carolina, rose from extreme poverty to become the godfather of soul and one of the most influential musicians of the 20th century. With electrifying performances, signature dance moves, and a powerful voice, he created classics like Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, I Got You, I Feel Good, and Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. Over his career, Brown recorded more than 70 albums and influenced genres from funk to hip-hop, earning 3 Grammy Awards and a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. His music became a soundtrack for both joy and social change, embodying pride and resilience for Black America. Yet his death in 2006 remains one of Hollywood's most haunting mysteries. Officially, James Brown died of congestive heart failure at age 73 in an Atlanta hospital, but controversy quickly surrounded the circumstances. There was no autopsy, no toxicology report, and the case was closed with unusual haste. Over a dozen people close to Brown, including a nurse, a friend, and even his own daughter, have publicly expressed suspicion that he may have been murdered. A CNN investigation in 2019 revealed voice recordings, affidavits, and testimonies that raised disturbing questions about the night of his death. Some witnesses claimed Brown was drugged, while others argued the sudden collapse was inconsistent with his medical history. Do you think the truth about his passing was deliberately buried, or was it simply a tragic natural death clouded by speculation? Adding to the unease, several of Brown's associates also called for the exhumation of his body. But legal battles over his estate and fortune complicated any possibility of reopening the case. Meanwhile, his vast wealth and music rights became the subject of a messy feud among his heirs and trustees, stretching on for years in court. Despite the uncertainty, James Brown's influence endures. He wasn't just an entertainer, he was a cultural force who shaped modern music and embodied the struggles and triumphs of his community. His story is one of brilliance shadowed by mystery, a reminder that even legends can leave this world surrounded by unanswered questions. Pam Grier. Pam Grier, born in 1949 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, became one of the most iconic actresses of the 1970s and a trailblazer for Black women in Hollywood. Rising to fame through the era of blaxploitation films, she embodied strong, fearless characters in classics like Coffee, 1973, Foxy Brown, 1974, and Sheba Baby, 1975. With her commanding presence and unapologetic portrayals of independent women, Grier flipped Hollywood stereotypes on their head, proving that Black actresses could be action heroines and box office draws. Her influence inspired later generations of stars, and Quentin Tarantino even cast her in Jackie Brown 1997, calling her the first female action star in cinema history. But behind her glamorous image, Grier faced a devastating battle. In 1988, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cervical cancer. Doctors gave her just 18 months to live. Rather than surrender, she changed her lifestyle, adopting a plant-based diet, alternative therapies, and a focus on spiritual healing. Miraculously, she defied the odds and survived, eventually becoming cancer-free. Her story of resilience remains one of Hollywood's most inspiring comebacks. If you were told you had less than 2 years left, would you fight with every fiber of your being, as Pam did? Her personal life also drew headlines. She dated basketball legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and comedian Richard Pryor. Her relationship with Pryor, while passionate, was plagued by his struggles with drug addiction. She eventually walked away, unwilling to sacrifice her own well-being. Grier later spoke openly about the toll it took, yet also about the lessons it taught her about love, boundaries, and survival. Even after decades in the spotlight, Pam Grier has never stopped working. She continued acting in television and film, becoming a respected elder figure in Hollywood. Beyond entertainment, she has used her platform to advocate for women's health and cancer awareness, sharing her story to inspire others. Pam Grier's journey is one of power, vulnerability, and triumph. She shattered barriers, survived unimaginable odds, and remains a symbol of strength, both on screen and in life. Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill is a name that still resonates as one of the most brilliant yet enigmatic figures in music. Born in 1975 in South Orange, New Jersey, she first gained fame as a member of the Fugees. Their 1996 album The Score sold more than 22 million copies worldwide, with hits like Killing Me Softly, showcasing Hill's soulful voice and lyrical mastery. But it was her solo debut, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill 1998, that cemented her as a legend. The record earned 5 Grammy Awards, including Album of the Year, making her the first woman to win that many in one night. With more than 20 million copies sold globally, it became one of the most celebrated albums in modern history. And then, she disappeared. At the height of her fame, Lauryn Hill walked away from the industry. Rumors swirled, legal troubles, erratic behavior, missed concerts, and mental health concerns. She was sued for failing to show up at performances, fined by the IRS for tax issues, and accused of being difficult. Yet Lauryn herself explained it differently. She said the music industry tried to manipulate and exploit her, draining her spirit and creativity. For her, stepping away was not failure, it was survival. Can you imagine choosing to leave behind millions in earnings just to protect your soul? In the years since, Hill has lived mostly in seclusion, raising her 6 children and performing only sporadically. When she does appear, her shows often run late or feature radically rearranged versions of her classics, frustrating some fans but reminding others of her uncompromising nature. She has spoken about the price of being a black woman in an industry that demanded obedience, not authenticity. Despite controversy, Lauryn Hill remains a towering influence. Artists from Beyoncé to Adele to Drake cite her as an inspiration. Her lone studio album continues to shape conversations about identity, artistry, and freedom. Lauryn Hill's story is both triumphant and tragic, a reminder that true genius often resists being controlled even if it means living in mystery. Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard, born in 1969 in Chicago, is known for his intensity both on screen and off. His breakthrough role came in Hustle and Flow 2005, where he played a struggling pimp-turned-rapper, a performance that earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. He went on to appear in major films such as Crash 2004, Iron Man 2008, and The Butler 2013. On television, he gained renewed fame as Luscious Lion, the ruthless music mogul in Empire 2015 to 2020, a role that showcased his charisma and unpredictability. With his sharp delivery and magnetic presence, Howard established himself as one of the most versatile actors of his generation. Yet Terrence Howard is equally known for his eccentric and controversial beliefs, particularly his obsession with mathematics. Howard has openly claimed that basic math is fundamentally flawed, insisting that 1 plus 1 equals 2 instead of 1. He even developed his own system of symbols and theories which he calls teriology. In interviews, he has passionately explained that mainstream science ignores his discoveries, and that his work could revolutionize technology, including the development of hydrogen-powered drones. Many dismissed these claims as delusional, but Howard insists he left Hollywood partly to prove his theories. Would you laugh at such radical ideas, or wonder if a hidden genius lies behind them? His personal life has also attracted attention. Howard has been married multiple times and faced accusations of domestic violence which he has denied or disputed. These controversies, combined with his unpredictable behavior on set, have made him one of Hollywood's most polarizing figures. He was famously replaced in the Iron Man franchise after the first film, reportedly due to salary disputes and tension with producers. Despite the controversies, Terrence Howard remains a figure who fascinates audiences. Whether delivering powerhouse performances or defending his unconventional theories, he refuses to conform to expectations. His career embodies brilliance mixed with unpredictability, a man who can both dazzle the screen and baffle the world with ideas that blur the line between genius and madness. Monique. Monique, born Monique Angela Imes in 1967 in Baltimore, Maryland, is a powerhouse of comedy and drama who has never shied away from speaking her truth. She first rose to fame through stand-up comedy and her role as Nikki Parker in the hit sitcom The Parkers, 1999 to 2004. Known for her bold humor and fearless stage presence, she was already a beloved figure in comedy circles. But her career reached its peak with the 2009 film Precious, where she delivered a harrowing performance as an abusive mother. The role won her the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, a Golden Globe, and a Screen Actors Guild Award, cementing her as one of the most respected actresses of her generation. Yet what should have been the beginning of a golden era turned into controversy. After her Oscar win, Monique claimed she was blacklisted by Hollywood heavyweights like Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, and Lee Daniels. She said she was punished for refusing to do unpaid promotional work for Precious, insisting that her contract did not require it. According to Monique, this decision led to her being labeled difficult, and suddenly doors closed. Instead of more major roles, she found herself sidelined from the industry she had just conquered. Was she truly punished for standing her ground, or was Hollywood protecting its own powerful circle? For years, her story was debated. Some dismissed her as bitter, while others saw her as a whistleblower exposing how black women are often silenced when they assert their worth. In 2018, she reignited discussion by calling for a boycott of Netflix, arguing they offered her far less than her peers for a comedy special. Despite backlash, she refused to back down. Monique eventually returned to mainstream screens in 2022 with a role in the Netflix film The Reading, and she continues to speak about fairness and equity in Hollywood. Love her or disagree with her, Monique's story forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about race, gender, and power in the entertainment industry. Lisa Bonet. Lisa Bonet, born in 1967 in San Francisco, California, became a household name in the 1980s when she starred as Denise Huxtable on The Cosby Show. Her free-spirited character stood out from the rest of the Huxtable family, and audiences quickly fell in love with her bohemian charm. The role made her one of the most recognizable young black actresses of the decade. Later, she reprised Denise in the spin-off A Different World, further cementing her status as a cultural icon. But Bonet's life off-screen was often as talked about as her roles. In 1987, at just 19 years old, she married rising rock star Lenny Kravitz. Their union was considered one of the coolest pairings in Hollywood, an effortless mix of style, artistry, and rebellion. Together, they had a daughter, Zoe Kravitz, who would later become a successful actress and musician in her own right. While their marriage seemed like a bohemian dream, rumors have long circulated that the couple had an open relationship, allowing freedom, rather than traditional rules, to guide their union. Neither Bonet nor Kravitz ever confirmed this, but their continued friendship after their 1993 divorce suggests a bond that went deeper than convention. Do you think an unconventional arrangement like that gave them longevity, or was it part of what led to their separation? Bonet also became known for her clashes with Hollywood norms. She famously butted heads with The Cosby Show creator Bill Cosby over her desire to take on edgier, more adult roles, most notably in the 1987 film Angel Heart, which featured explicit scenes that scandalized audiences and industry insiders. Her willingness to defy expectations may have cost her some opportunities, but it also solidified her reputation as a woman unwilling to be boxed in. In later years, Bonet largely stepped away from the spotlight, choosing to focus on family and a quieter life. She later married actor Jason Momoa, with whom she had 2 more children before their separation in 2022. Even in retreat from Hollywood, Lisa Bonet remains a symbol of individuality, an actress who carved her own path, refusing to compromise her identity for fame. Aaliyah Dana Houghton, born in 1979 in Brooklyn and raised in Detroit, was destined to be a star from a young age. At just 10 years old, she appeared on Star Search, and by 15 she released her debut album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number 1994. The record sold over 3 million copies in the US, showcasing her smooth voice and unique blend of R&B and hip-hop. Her follow-up albums, One in a Million 1996 and the self-titled Aaliyah 2001, produced hits like One in a Million Try Again and Rock the Boat. By the early 2000s, she had sold over 30 million records worldwide and was being hailed as the Princess of R&B. But her early career held a disturbing and long-buried secret. In 1994, at just 15, Aaliyah was illegally married to her mentor and producer R. Kelly, who was 27 at the time. Their marriage certificate falsely listed her age as 18, a shocking deception that was quickly annulled by her parents once they discovered the truth. For years, the story was whispered in the industry but largely ignored by the public. Only decades later, through documentaries like Surviving R. Kelly, 2019, did the full weight of this predatory relationship come to light. Many fans still wonder if the world had taken action, then how much pain and exploitation could have been prevented. Despite the controversy, Aaliyah's career soared. She transitioned into acting, starring in Romeo Must Die 2000 and Queen of the Damned 2002, proving she was more than a music star, she was a rising Hollywood talent. Tragically, on August 25, 2001, after filming the music video for Rock the Boat in the Bahamas, Aaliyah died in a plane crash at just 22 years old. Investigations revealed the small aircraft was overloaded with equipment and passengers. Her sudden death devastated fans worldwide, cutting short a career that seemed limitless. Aaliyah is remembered as an innovator whose style, music, and artistry continue to influence stars like Beyoncé, Rihanna, and Drake. She embodied youth, beauty, and brilliance, yet her story also reminds us of the dangers of exploitation and the fragility of life at the height of fame. Tupac Shakur. Tupac Amaru Shakur, born in 1971 in East Harlem, was more than a rapper. He was a poet, activist, and revolutionary spirit whose words captured the pain and pride of Black America. With over 75 million records sold worldwide, Tupac became one of the best-selling artists of all time, celebrated for classics like Dear Mama Changes and California Love. His work wasn't just entertainment, it was social commentary reflecting poverty, police brutality, and systemic racism. By his mid-20s, he had already become a cultural force, acting in films like Juice 1992 and Poetic Justice 1993, showing he was as versatile as he was outspoken. But Tupac's life was also steeped in violence and controversy. He survived multiple shootings, spent time in prison, and became deeply embroiled in the East Coast-West Coast hip-hop rivalry. Still, his greatest mystery lies in his death. On September 7, 1996, after attending a Mike Tyson fight in Las Vegas, Tupac was riding in a car with Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight. A white Cadillac pulled up alongside them and opened fire. Tupac was shot 4 times with one bullet piercing his lung. He survived for 6 days before dying on September 13th at just 25 years old. Despite happening on a busy street filled with witnesses, the case remains unsolved. No arrests, no weapon, no trial. Would justice have been served if investigators had truly pursued every lead, or was someone powerful invested in keeping the truth hidden? Theories abound. Some blame gang retaliation from the Crips. Others suggest East Coast rap rivals, while a darker faction believes it was an inside job tied to his label. Adding fuel, Suge Knight himself has given conflicting accounts over the years, further muddying the narrative. What is undeniable is Tupac's enduring influence. He wrote over 700 songs in his short career and left behind a vault of unreleased material. His words, often prophetic, made him a symbol of resilience and rebellion. For fans, Tupac is more than a tragic loss. He is a legend whose voice continues to echo long after the gunfire silenced him. Michael Clark, Duncan. Michael Clark. Duncan, born in 1957 in Chicago, rose from humble beginnings to become one of Hollywood's most beloved actors. Standing at 6 feet 5 inches with a physique that once made him a bodyguard for stars like Will Smith and the notorious B.I.G., Duncan seemed destined for roles of strength. Yet his warm heart and vulnerability made him unforgettable on screen. His breakout performance came in The Green Mile, 1999, where his portrayal of John Coffey, a gentle giant with supernatural gifts, earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. The role showcased not just his size, but his remarkable emotional depth, leaving audiences in tears. Over the next decade, Duncan built an impressive career with films like Armageddon, 1998, The Whole Nine Yards, 2000 Planet of the Apes, 2001 and Daredevil 2003. He was admired not only for his talent, but also for his kindness. Off-screen friends and co-stars often described him as a man of generosity and humility. Tragically, Duncan's life was cut short on September 3, 2012, when he died at the age of 54 from a heart attack. But what followed was controversy that shocked fans. His fiancée, reality TV star Omarosa Manigault, quickly became the center of disputes with Duncan's family. Relatives alleged that Omarosa manipulated Duncan in his final months, changed his will to benefit herself, and isolated him from loved ones. She denied the accusations, insisting their love was genuine and that she cared for him until his last day. Some believed Omarosa's devotion was real, while others suspected she took advantage of his trust. Would you view her as a grieving partner defending her love, or as someone who profited from tragedy? The legal disputes and public drama threatened to overshadow Duncan's legacy, but his performances remain untarnished. For fans, he is remembered as a towering presence with a gentle soul, someone who could move audiences with both power and tenderness. Michael Clarke. Duncan's story is one of triumph, sudden loss, and lingering questions, a reminder that even the brightest stars can leave the world amid shadows of doubt. Isaiah Washington. Isaiah Washington, born in 1963 in Houston, Texas, is a talented actor whose career has been defined as much by controversy as by his performances. He trained at Howard University before rising through independent films like Crooklyn 1994 and Get on the Bus 1996, showcasing his versatility and depth. But his breakout role came in 2005, when he was cast as Dr. Preston Burke on ABC's hit medical drama Grey's Anatomy. His portrayal of the brilliant but demanding cardiothoracic surgeon made him a fan favorite, and he quickly became one of the show's central characters. However, in 2007, Washington's career took a dramatic turn. Reports emerged of a heated on-set altercation with co-star Patrick Dempsey, during which Washington allegedly used a homophobic slur in reference to fellow castmate T.R. Knight. The fallout was swift and merciless. Though Washington issued a public apology and even worked with LGBTQ+ advocacy groups, the damage had been done. The controversy reignited when he repeated the slur while denying it at the Golden Globes press conference, a move that critics say sealed his fate. ABC declined to renew his contract effectively, ending his time on the series. Would another actor have been forgiven if the situation had unfolded differently? Or was Washington singled out as an example in Hollywood's culture wars? Washington later spoke out, claiming he was scapegoated. He argued that other actors had used equally offensive language without facing the same consequences. But as a black man in Hollywood, he was sacrificed to preserve the show's image. After leaving Grey's Anatomy, he struggled to regain the same mainstream visibility, though he continued to act in smaller projects, including the CW's sci-fi series, The 100. Despite the controversy, Washington's contributions to Grey's Anatomy remain undeniable, and many fans still regard Dr. Burke as one of the show's most memorable characters. His story highlights the complex intersection of talent, accountability, and the politics of reputation in Hollywood. Isaiah Washington's legacy is both cautionary and compelling, a reminder of how quickly success can vanish when controversy overshadows artistry. Queen Latifah. Queen Latifah, born Dana Elaine Owens in 1970 in Newark, New Jersey, is a true multi-hyphenate rapper, singer, actress, producer, and talk show host. Emerging in the late 1980s, she became one of the first women in hip-hop to command respect on par with male rappers. Her 1989 debut album, All Hail the Queen, featured the anthem Ladies First, which established her as a feminist voice in rap. Over time, she crossed into acting, starring in the hit sitcom Living Single 1993 to 1998, and later films like Chicago 2002, Bringing Down the House 2003, and Hairspray 2007. She has won a Grammy and Emmy, a Golden Globe, and an Academy Award nomination, proving her versatility across entertainment. But behind her confident public image lies a story of profound personal grief. In 1992, her older brother Lancelot Owens Jr. died tragically in a motorcycle accident. The pain was magnified by the fact that the motorcycle had been a gift from Latifah herself. Struggling with guilt, she began wearing his motorcycle key around her neck, keeping it close for years as a reminder of their bond. That same year, she was carjacked and held at gunpoint, leaving her shaken and vulnerable. For someone seen as strong and unbreakable, these tragedies revealed her deeply human side. How does someone continue to shine in the spotlight while carrying such heavy personal loss? Her hardships didn't end there. Latifah later faced legal troubles, including an arrest for marijuana possession in 1996, and in 2018, she lost her beloved mother, Rita Owens, after a long battle with heart failure. Latifah described her mother as her rock stylist and prayer partner, and her passing left another void. Still, Queen Latifah has remained resilient. She became the first female hip-hop artist to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and continues to inspire with her performances, including her starring role in the Equalizer TV reboot. Queen Latifah's journey shows that behind the achievements and the royal stage name is a woman who has faced grief, guilt, and loss, yet continues to rise, embodying strength for those who look up to her. Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby, born in 1937 in Philadelphia, was once regarded as America's dad. Through his groundbreaking sitcom The Cosby Show, 1984 to 1992, he reshaped television by portraying an affluent black family at a time when positive black representation was rare. The series reached over 30 million weekly viewers at its peak and is often credited with opening doors for countless black actors and actresses. Cosby also had a successful career as a stand-up comedian, children's TV star, with Fat Albert and Pitchman building a billion-dollar brand rooted in family values and wholesome humor. For decades, he was a symbol of respectability and inspiration. But behind the polished image lay one of the darkest scandals in Hollywood history. Beginning in the 2000s, dozens of women came forward accusing Cosby of sexual assault, drugging, and abuse, with incidents stretching back to the 1960s. By the mid-2010s, more than 60 women had shared eerily similar stories. They were invited by Cosby under the guise of mentorship or friendship, given drinks, and later woke up disoriented and violated. The allegations shook the public, who struggled to reconcile the family-friendly icon with the predator described by survivors. If the world had taken earlier allegations seriously, how many lives might have been spared from trauma? In 2018, Cosby was convicted of aggravated indecent assault and sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison, becoming the first major celebrity convicted in the wake of the #MeToo movement. Universities revoked his honorary degrees, networks pulled reruns of The Cosby Show, and fans abandoned him. However, in 2021, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned his conviction on procedural grounds, and Cosby was released after serving nearly 3 years. The decision reignited debates over justice technicalities and survivor credibility. Cosby continues to maintain his innocence, framing the accusations as a media lynching, but the damage to his legacy is irreversible. Once a beloved trailblazer, he is now remembered as a fallen icon whose double life shocked the world. His story remains one of the starkest examples of how fame can mask predation and how the truth once buried eventually surfaces. Behind every smile on the red carpet lies a story the world was never meant to hear. From hidden romances and blacklists to addictions, betrayals, and unresolved mysteries, these 30 Black Hollywood legends carried secrets that forever changed how we remember them. But should these revelations redefine their legacies, or should their artistry stand untarnished by controversy? Some argue that truth always matters, while others believe legends deserve protection from scandal. Where do you stand? Does knowing the secret make their greatness more human, or does it shatter the myth? Share your thoughts below. This is Legends of Black Excellence.